producing a long signal here when there's a double bottom or a higher low. And the key here is when it completes. And so the reason why that's key here is for the swing trend indicator that's mentioned, right? That's the indicator that puts, these puts the zigzag swing trend line data there on there, right? And as the market is moving, we can see the lines and the data points here are updating, right? So right now we're currently in a higher low, but of course, does that mean the market's going to stop there and reverse? Of course not, right? No indicator can predict the future. So as the market's moving, right, the indicator is updating itself on a bar by bar case here. So if the market kept moving down, this higher low will turn into a double bottom, similar to what we had up here, right? We had a double bottom right there. But if it keeps moving lower, then we end up with what we see right here, a lower low, or like what we see right here, a lower low. So that's the key here, is to identify it when that swing point, right, when that swing low or that swing high, when it's locked in, right? So in other words, price has to move the opposite direction before that higher low actually locks in as a higher low. So right now it's still under development there. Yeah, so that's what we'll look at there. Yeah, so I don't believe I have actually done this yet before. So we're going to have to experiment here. And I do have a couple of ideas in my head here that should address, waiting for that swing point to complete, right? Or lock itself in place there. Yeah, so like right now, thankfully the market's working with me here, right? The market's starting to reverse. It looks like it's reversing direction. And if it keeps moving a little bit further, then it'll lock in that higher low there, right? Here. So a couple of pieces of information here that you'll need to know is information on the swing trend there. All right. And so I'm going to pull up the documentation here in a moment. But first, let's take a look at what data you can get from the swing trend indicator there. All right. So with BloodHound open here. All right. So I'm going to pull up the threshold solver to inspect the swing trend indicator there. And I'll go ahead and connect that up. And so for the threshold solver, we're going to change the indicator, obviously. All right, so we're going to go into the SharkIndicators folder, right? And there's the swing trend indicator. All right, so double click on it and it puts it down here. And so here's the list of all the output data, right? Now, so we can see there is a double bottom output, a plot, and a higher low plot. But as explained in the beginning, so as price was coming down, it was a higher low. So you would get a higher low output on each of these bars as it was stepping down, because technically that was a higher low in development there. So these are all swing point data that's developing there. So none of it's completed or locked in, as I like to say. So, and also there's some other things as well. So there's a couple of trend outputs here as well. There's an overall trend, quick trend, breakout trend, and higher high, higher low trend there. So, and you can even read other things like the swing duration, like how many bars did it take, things of that nature, right? So all this output here is what I wanted to get to. And let's see here. So for now, I'm going to select the double bottom here. Let's see here. For a long double bottom, for long, and a short will be the double top. There we go. Oh, also, let's see here. Yeah, I'm just using the standard settings here. A swing strength of 7 and a double top, double bottom of 20 there. So getting back to, understanding all this data here. Let's click that. And I'm going to, well, I don't bring this up much, but there is the help tab here, and you can read a summary, but of course it's a little narrow to really kind of read that documentation properly there. So what it's good for kind of reading the summary here, but when you need to dive into some of the detailed information, you could, where is it? There we go. We could stretch it out. That helps, but I'm old-fashioned. I don't like reading stuff on a small screen like my cell phone. And that's what this kind of reminds me of, but at least it's there for real quick and handy. So what I like to do is go to an actual web browser here, and let's see, I'm going to go to support menu, and then I'm going to open up the documentation on another tab. There we go. So from support documentation, I'll take you to this page, and right here's other indicators and tools. So let's go to the swing trend indicator right there. There we go. So this page actually has the swing trend and the swing highs and lows. So swing trend is first, and if we scroll down, right, here we go. Here's display swing data information here, right? And then actually the data series is really what I want to get to. And so here you go. So here's an explanation of the different trends. So there's an overall trend, the quick trend, the breakout trend, and other metrics right there, right? Swing duration, swing height, percentage, so on and so forth. Back to finding those double bottoms and double tops here after they've completed. So let's see if we have anything marked up on the chart. And let's see here. I'm expecting that to be marked up. And let's see here. There we go. All right. So let's go back here. So when there is a double bottom, double top, lower low, lower high, what's being output in these plots is the price value, right? So clearly, price is always, well, almost always positive, except for some commodities, it can go negative. So, but so let's just say it's always positive, just to keep things simple there, right? So what we're receiving here is the price value, the closing price value of that bar, I believe. So, so when there was no short output there, it was because in the rules window, right, the default is typically you're looking for, it's set up in a way that's looking for a negative value, right, something less than 0 here. But of course, a price value is going to be greater than 0. So just put it like that, and then I hit apply, and then we got an output there. And let's see if there's any double bottoms. Yeah. So, okay, this is a good example here where, yeah, so as price was marching down, yeah, it hit that previous swing low, and so it was a double bottom while developing, but then of course price moves on. So the key is, how do we remove this after it completes, right? So obviously it kept going, so it never locked in as a double bottom there. So this will be a good spot here to experiment with. So let's see here. All right, let's give this a name here before we get going too far. All right, so this solver here is looking at the swing trend indicator, and it's reading double bottoms for longs and double tops for shorts. There. All right. Now, the way that we know that a swing point's locked in is the zigzag line is no longer going down, it's actually going up afterwards, right? So obviously you gotta wait for price to actually reverse directions, and then that point gets locked in. So we're gonna need another one of these solvers here. And this time we need to look at the direction of that swing line or that zigzag line. Right? So let's go into the indicator, and we need to select the direction output there. And let's see, where is it? So here it is at the bottom. So there's the swing direction output. Select that there. And we need to go into the threshold rules here. And we're going to put this back to its default, less than 0. And if we hit apply, there we go. So right here on this bar, price had moved far enough down that this down swing line was officially locked in, right? And then that swing low developed. And before that swing low was locked in, price had to reverse direction again, start moving up. And on that bar is what actually locked in that swing low. And then this green line started drawing or developing there. So, all right. So let's see here. Let's get some. Yeah. Oh, all right. That's not what I wanted. I wanted the other square. There we go. There. So I just want to draw here and identify which bars, right? We have this swing low and swing high here. There. All right, good enough. So now we need to compare these two. All right. So on this one here, actually, I was looking at the wrong spot. So there we go. Let's copy this over here. So, yeah, so we had a double bottom developing here. And of course, a double bottom can only develop while a down swing line is developing. So it's going to be inside, right? A double bottom is only going to occur when we have this short directional output here. And I need one more here. There. All right, that should work. Let's see. All right, so we had a double bottom developing during the downswing, and let's see here. Actually, I'm going to need to find another spot here. So the way that we know that this double bottom's locked in is we need this long output, right? We need the swing line to reverse direction, and we need this upswing to start developing, right? Denoted by this long output here, right? So, so one of the other things I should do is, actually no, this is right. So we do want a long output when there's a double bottom that had started to develop. Yeah, so actually that is okay here. But actually, let's go back here. Yeah, here we go. So I can work with this. Actually, this did not lock in as a double bottom, actually a lower low. So, so that's not actually going to work. Well, there actually may not be a way to do that. Oh, okay. No, we're going to get a little more sophisticated here. So, a double bottom here, yeah, did occur. So we're going to start tracking this. But then if we get a lower low, we're going to disable or turn off the double bottom here. So the way we're going to do this is I'm going to grab a signal extender, which actually was a part of, yeah, kind of what I was thinking to begin with here. Yeah, so we're going to need a signal extender here because when we do get a double bottom, right, it's not locked in until price starts reversing, right, and moving the other direction. So again, there, let's put our trend direction in here, and I'm going to need to start drawing some more here. All right, so I'll just go like that. I think that's good enough. Well, all right, there. All right, that'll work. So again, so this double bottom would not be locked in until the swing line or the zigzag line, right, starts moving upwards. Right. So we need a signal extender to take that double bottom and extend it forward long enough, but not too far for this swing line to possibly move upwards, right? And let's see here. And the way, yeah, so now we need to understand a little bit about how the swing trend indicator operates. Right. And there is some information on this page, but SharkIndicators did not develop this indicator. Actually, let's see here. Yeah, so this indicator was actually derived from the price action swings indicator, which was written by Dorston, right? So we're not the authors of this here. So we don't have all the information on this indicator, and also just note that we can't answer any kind of technical questions about this indicator since we didn't develop it. So, all right. But I do know that basically the swing strength here, we do have some answers here just from observation here that that in the typical mode here, right, and so let's go into the swing trend indicator here, right. So in the standard mode, the swing strength is essentially counting bars here. So this 7 means that it could take from the low point, from the bar that makes the lowest low point, it could take up to 7 bars before it reverses direction here. So let's see here. And actually it took 8 bars. Well, I guess the swing low does not count. So if we start after the lowest bar here, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right. So that means if that low point was the double bottom, we would need to extend that out 7 bars. Extend that out 7 bars. Yeah. So we know that this actually is the double bottom. And so if we extend out 7 bars, right, we get to there. So it doesn't quite get us to the point where the swing line flipped up and started an upswing, right? Which is exactly what we want because this actually is a lower low, so this needs to get excluded there. All right. And what I'm also going to do here is I'm going to make a copy of this, paste another one down here. And this time, I'm going to look for lower lows and higher highs. All right. So yeah, so if price keeps going down, this double bottom turns into a lower low as if price keeps marching down. So I'm going to use this lower low to turn off the signal extender. So, but first, let's go into the indicator and let's change our plot here. So let's see here. Yeah, so it doesn't really matter if for the lower low if I use a long or a short. Actually, I'm gonna just reverse it there, and so I need the higher highs. Okay, there's our higher highs. There, good. And remember to adjust the double top, double bottom settings there, and the swing strength as well when you're setting up your swing trend indicator here. There. Okay. So there we go. So we can see, yep, that one bar there, because it pushed through far enough, it became a lower low. And then we can see here, right, as the close of the bars pushed above the swing high, now we have a higher high developing here. And of course, that bar didn't actually develop a higher high. We can see that high is a little bit lower than the previous one. So there's nothing there. But we're going to use this. So I'm going to use this short output from this solver to reset our signal extender here. So for the signal extender, I'm going to go into the reset options here. Let's open this up a little bit more. And let's see, reset signal was the default. Okay, then, let me go back in here, into the indicator here for the swing trend, lower low, higher high. And I'm going to switch my outputs here. So remember, I was kind of deciding if I wanted the lower low to do a long output or not. And so I'm going to go put it back like that. So a lower low is actually going to produce a long output, and a higher high will produce a short output. Okay, there we go. So those outputs have just been reversed, like so. And so now, actually, sorry, we're looking at the wrong node here. Yeah, so there we go. So this lower low is now outputting a long, and all right, and higher highs are outputting a short. And so if we look at, so here's our signal extender, right, without a reset there, right? So we get a double bottom, extends for 7 bars. And here we can see, right, this bar, right, that high point almost reached, right, that swing high. So a double top, right, that bar produced a double top output. And again, if we just want to double check this, yeah, there we go. So that bar, that low was close enough to the swing low for a double bottom, and that high price was close enough to that swing high for a double top, right? And so the signal extender is just taking those and then extending them forward to see if price changes directions soon enough. But with this lower low and higher high detection going into the reset, so now we can see the signal extender got turned off by that lower low. So now there's no way for a double bottom to actually be detected here. right? Which is exactly what we want here because it actually wasn't a double bottom, it was a lower low. So let's see. Yeah, let's see what else we have here. All right, yeah, same thing here, right? So price was coming down, and these two bars here, right, were basically resting on that swing low, so that was a double bottom. But price kept going lower, making a lower low, and then the signal extender there was turned off. So that way a double bottom can't accidentally be um, um, can't be generated there. So, all right, and I'm going to name this signal extender here. There. All right. Okay, so here we do actually have a double top here. So let's take a look at this. So, all right, so we did have a double top where it actually reversed, right? So yeah, so there's our bar that output a double top, and then we have the signal extender, right? So it's taking that short output and extending it forward there, right? And next we need to see, all right, so when did it actually, there, yeah, so here's where the swing trend line reversed and started going down. So we'll just mark that there. All right. Yeah, there we go. Now, of course, this is a double bottom. So, yeah, it's good that this actually occurred here. So, right, you could get a double top that doesn't lock in until a double bottom's occurring. So, this actually, luckily, we came across this. We kind of figured this out and figure out a way to cancel that double top if that's what's wanted there. So, all right. But let's just kind of focus on identifying this double top here for now. So what we're looking for, right, is when this double top, double bottom, right, when the extension of that signal overlaps with our signal direction here. So next step is we need an output or an AND node here, sorry, and connect that in, and there we have it, right? So this bar, right, is what started developing the down swing line, right, or this down zigzag line, right, was on that bar, and we had a double top, and so once this bar closed, that double top was locked in. So that's the lock-in point right there. Right. Now, if we want a nice clean signal, organize this a little bit. There we go. Now, yeah, so if we wanted a nice clean signal, right, because why do we have 4 bars of output? Well, because this downswing only took 1, 2, 3, 4 bars, right? It only took 4 bars, not 7, after that double top, right? So sometimes, right, the swing direction can change much sooner than 7 bars, but 7 bars is the maximum, or 7 bars is when a decision has to be made. Right, basically, that's what I was saying about the swing trends, swing strength. Yeah, so that swing strength means, after a high point or low point, you have 7 bars maximum, yeah, to change directions. Otherwise, you're still in the previous direction there. So at least I believe that's how the indicator works. Again, don't quote me on the mechanics of how the swing trend works, because again, SharkIndicators did not make that indicator. So, all right. Anyways, kind of back to this. So since our downswing was locked in sooner, if we wanted to kind of clean this up here a little bit, all we need to do is just add a signal blocker there, like so. There. And I think 5 is good enough. We might need to block for 6 bars, right? In other words, 1 bar less than our signal extender. Because I guess technically you could get, right, a high point, and then the next bar could just crater down, and then the swing trend line or the swing trend direction instantly will flip downward. Yeah, if the next bar drops down and makes a lower low instantly in 1 bar. So that means the signal blocker, yeah, you'd want that to block for 6 bars or 1 bar less than your signal extender. Well, all right, so now let's kind of get back to this situation here. Yeah, where a double top occurred as this double bottom occurred as this double top was detected here. So I think all we need to do is figure out how to, again, to disable the signal extender. Let's see here. All right, so I think we can disable the signal extender by the input, right? Because the input is what's generating those long outputs there. So let's see if this works, if that does the job. And it does. There. So our signal extender, right, it turned off on the bar that the downswing was identified. So if we look at this now, there we go. So now there's no double top detection when there's actually a double bottom right here. So yeah, so that's all it took was for our signal extender here, right, in the resets here. I just used the input opposite signal, right? So what is the input opposite signal? Well, this guy here is connected to the input. Right, let's zoom in a little bit there. Right, so that's the input. So, right, and so there's the opposite signal, right? Because what is the signal extender extending? Well, it's taking this short signal and it's extending it forward, right? So that we can hopefully get a short signal from this double top. So, yeah. So if the input, produces an opposite signal, then that resets the signal extender or turns the signal extender off. Okay. So, yeah. So if a double top or double bottom, right, occurs when the other opposite double is locked in, and you don't want that to produce an output, then all that's needed is to just enable this signal input opposite signal, right? Otherwise, if I disable that, then bingo, there is our double top short signal. So yeah, so there you go. So it's up to the trader, right, to exactly define what, if they want a double bottom to negate a double top and vice versa. All right, so actually that was far less work than I thought. So with this here, I'm going to go and I'm going to enable that input opposite signal there. And so now let's just kind of look through the chart here, kind of scan through the chart and see what we have. Not that many double tops or double bottoms. All right, there's one, so there's another double top there. All right, there's another double top. There we go. And another double top. All right, another double top. And I'm hoping to find some double bottoms just to confirm that the double bottom is detecting everything. I mean, I'm 99.99% sure it does work, but it's always great to actually get confirmation on a chart. Ah, finally. There we go. There's our double bottom. And there's that bar with the big move that finally locked in that double bottom. Excellent. Okay. So now let's work on the higher lows and lower highs here. All right. So again, for a long, we did the double bottoms. Now we're looking for the higher lows there. All right. And we have higher lows all over the place. So there's one that we can work with. Yeah, this will work great. So there's a successful higher low. And in here, I believe we have a failed lower high right in here, right? So as the market's moving up, right, it's going to be in a lower high as it's below this high point. But we also have a lower high here, but we do have one here that's developing, and then I think it's going to turn into a double top, double bottom, and then eventually a higher high. So we want to make sure that this lower high, right, doesn't produce a signal, or yeah, effectively gets turned off, reset, right? And then we do have a lower high here where looks like a double bottom might disable that lower high. We'll see how this all works out. So, all right, let's move that up. All right, so this here, right, is our double top, double bottom, and we're gonna effectively, I'm just gonna rebuild the same thing, but you know, this guy here, this threshold solver is the key. So it's looking for double bottoms, double tops, but we're gonna reorient it to look for higher lows and lower highs. So let's copy this and paste it there. All right, so we just need to go into the indicator and select the correct outputs here. There we go. Oh, reverse that. There we go. Yeah. So as we look at this, yeah, there we go, right? So this will make sense if you think about it. So we have a higher high, and so as the market is pulling back, right, all of these are potential or developing higher lows, right? And then eventually it locks in and market reverses, right? And vice versa. So we have a low point, and so these are all potentially lower highs that are developing. Right. So again, we're going to copy this signal extender, paste it down here, connect that in, like so. So, and so we need, so when, yeah, so when this higher low, as this higher low is developing, right, it's not locked in until, again, the market changes direction, right? So in other words, the swing line has to reverse direction. So we're going to need this, right, this swing direction again here. So let's grab another AND node. And let's name this here. Like so. All right, connect that in, connect that in. And all right, well, no output there. So let's debug this. All right, so let's take a look at the swing direction here. So, all right, so the upswing move here started there. There. All right, so now we're going to look at this signal extender here for those higher lows and lower highs. Let's see what happened. All right, so here's our higher low and extended for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, yeah. So what we need to do is turn off the input opposite signal there. Yeah. Disable that reset. There we go. Yeah. So as the swing, right, as the swing line reverses direction, right, we go from developing higher lows into lower highs. And of course that produces, right, a short output. So this short output was turning off the long output there. Yeah. Okay, so now that we have this 2-bar overlap, there we go. And there we go. So there's our first bar where this zigzag line, right, flipped up there. So this bar is what locked in that higher low. All right, and again, let's copy this signal blocker and pop that in there. There. And then next, join both of these systems together, right? Because they're both separate detections there, right? One's detecting double tops, double bottoms. The other one's, right, higher lows, lower highs. So they're two separate systems, and we want them to act as one there, possibly. So we'll join them together with an OR node. And so with that, there, take a look at the complete system. And let's go back to the beginning of the chart. Yeah. All right, so this is where we were just working at. And let's see, that's a higher high. All right, so nothing's going to happen there. But, yeah, here we go. Higher low, boom, long, lower high, locked in, short, lower high. There's our short. And higher low, there's our long. All right. And double top. And all it took was the next bar. Yeah, sometimes that happens. The next bar actually locked in that double top there. Yeah, this next bar actually dropped far enough down below, right, the previous bars here. So, and yep, higher low, or sorry, lower high. There's our higher low. Yep, there you go. Definitely, obviously, a lot more lower highs, higher lows. So, all right. So with that, yeah, I'm just kind of thinking to myself, is there anything, yeah, is there anything that could possibly generate a false positive higher low or lower high signal. Let's see, we didn't actually get anything here. So we have a lower high, but we didn't get a short here. So let's see what happened. All right, well, so there we go. We just needed an extra bar. So we can see the signal. So we're looking at our signal extender, right? It's extending for 7 bars. So my counting actually was off by a bar, right? So we can see that, actually, yeah, all right. So this downswing didn't start developing until this bar, and it was 1 bar after our signal extender stopped, right? So our signal extender stopped there. That's what we're looking at. Yeah, so if I just increase this to 1, up it to 8, then there we go. There's our short. All right. So let's update the name here, like so. And now let's take a look at the signal blocker. Yep, good enough. There. All right. Good. So we fixed one that was missing. So I'm seeing a long output there. Let's see. Here's our higher low. Actually, that's a higher high. Okay. Yeah, so again, there we go. This is what I was missing here. So this is definitely a higher high bar. So if you want to, exclude those higher highs, maybe not, right? Then we just need to go and do, let's see here, let's stretch this out a little bit. All right, so we have a higher low, and then we got a signal on a higher high. So if we wanted to exclude that, right? Remember for the double tops and double bottoms, right? We used a lower, lower, and higher high to disable that double top, double bottom there. So if we want to do that, yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the solver from here and drag it down. All right. Now, the one thing to note here is this solver and this solver are both the same solver. They're both this solver right here from the master list. Right? So if I change one, it changes the other. So this is just a visual representation of the same node here. All right. So I could have taken this and dragged it all the way down, but I didn't want that long line. It's just a matter of preference there. I kind of like, it looks cleaner to me like this. So, let's see here. So if I put that in, let's see. So the signal extender, I want to check my resets. Yeah, reset signal is on, but it's not killing it. Yeah. Oh, okay. So, yeah. So we're getting a short on this higher high. Yeah, so for the signal extender, the reset is not reset signal, but the reset is reset opposite signal. There we go. There. So now we can see the signal extender, right? It turned off as soon as this higher high developed. Yep. Okay, so now let's take a look. There we go. There. So now that higher high actually disabled that higher low. And it's got to be the opposite too, right? So if there's a lower low and a, if there is a lower high that turns into a lower low, I'm sure there's one around here somewhere. Yeah, here we go. Here's a higher low, but actually locked in right there before the lower low occurred. So, yeah, I may not find an example where a lower low occurred when the higher, no, here we go. Yeah, so look, let's disable, let's disconnect that. Yeah, so here we go. A higher low developed, and then when it was locked in on this bar, yeah, so we can see this short signal is actually technically a lower low now because it's lower than that low point. So, yeah, so if I connect this back up there, now it's disabled. So there we go. All right. Yeah. Yeah, so we can either allow, those lower high and higher lows to occur even though there is a lower low or higher high, just simply by disconnecting that or reconnecting it. So the signal extender, the resets here are, are set up here, but to actually kill those signals, we just need to connect, right? Connect up our lower low, lower high to the reset there. All right. So, yeah, actually, looking at that, that looks like a pretty good signal. So I'll leave it disconnected. What the heck? There. Well, let's see here. So we have a lower high, but no signal. So let's see what happened here. Oh, this just took a long time before it finally changed directions. Yeah, so our signal extender is only going out 8 bars. Not long enough. All right, so it looks like I just need to extend this signal extender for 3 more bars. There we go. So there, now we have some overlap. Right, if we stretch this out a little bit, right? So that bar is when the downswing first was detected. But that is also a double bottom, double top. So, and we don't have, yeah, we don't have double bottoms, double tops excluded, right? Excluding this short here. So, yeah, we might. So, Yeah. All right, so looking at the AND node, right, we do now have this lower high signal, but it is a double bottom here. So looks like we also, right, some people might want to include this down here, right? So we might want lower lows or double bottoms, double tops to exclude that. And so I can pop those into an OR node like so. And so now let's take a look at our signal extender. Right, so our signal extender again is showing us that, hey, we have a lower high developing. Yep, so this low point, once price got high enough here, it turned into an upswing. And so this is now a lower high in development. And there we go. And now it finally locks in when we get to this bar. Yeah, so if we want to exclude this because this is a double bottom, yeah, that's a double bottom. And then the next one's a lower low. If we wanted to exclude that, we could just connect that into the reset there. And there, now we can see our signal extender turns off on this bar, which is a double bottom here. All right, yeah. So there's the long output there for double bottom and lower lows, turning off that signal extender. Yeah. So, yeah, so there we have it. It's all right. Matter of preference on all this stuff and how you want to, yeah, how you want to look exactly there. All right. So I will just leave it like that for now. There. All right. Well, I think we progressed pretty good on this here. I have a feeling we covered every kind of scenario where swing points are clashing with each other. Yeah. Or developing, yeah, developing swing highs and swing lows are clashing with the previous one.